Bueno, hey, how are you?
Hey, this is fun. Hey, everybody, I have a special treat for you today. This is Ted Winslow, and he is this incredible, what would you, a recording artist? What are you? No, you're not a recording artist. You're all the above. You do all of it.
I'm
But
an amalgamation of all musical creative products.
exactly.
If it
So,
makes you sound, I love it.
well, what's really incredible about Ted is he makes a really special kind of music. And it's the kind of music that actually like resonates with your soul in vibrational frequencies that are super healthy for you to hear. And I would love to talk to you about like those we'll get into that in a minute, but basically I've been studying from his wife, Christina. I've been taking Wellpoint Hypnosis Method, and I'm on level 2, just graduated from level 2, and it's been phenomenal. And I have to tell you, oh my gosh, I made my own self hypnosis script with your music.
Uh-huh.
It's been absolutely mind blowing. It's been phenomenal. So I can't wait to help other people with this method. It's super, super powerful, you guys. I feel like a new woman. One of my clients just yesterday, she says, Amy, I don't know what's happened to you, but you've like raised up a few notches. Like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, like too intense almost. So, yeah, so it's really a beautiful thing. And it's really trippy when you do it to yourself, because there's like the you that made the recording, the you that's listening, the you that's observing, and one of you is passed out and breathing really heavy, and then there's like the higher self you're talking to. So it's like a trip when you do it for yourself. Anyway, so Ted does this incredible music that helps you basically heal and get in touch with your soul. Can you tell us like what kind of music do people typically listen to on the radio? What kind of hertz or whatever that made you kind of like, what gave you the idea that that stuff's not so great to listen to? We need some good like music for our souls that will nurture our souls and our hearts. What brought you to that?
Well, I when I started out in music, I was playing bass as a studio musician, meaning that recording studios and some people who were cutting albums would need a bass player, so they would have me come in. So I'd sit down, I'd play on it. And then at the same time, I was also playing an original rock band, a product of the '80s, and we were cranking our music through 100-watt amplifiers. By today's standard, it's insane to think of what we were doing back then. So it was all tuned to 440 hertz. Okay, what does that mean? Most people will go, 440 hertz, that's basically what we tune all the instruments to, as concert pitch above A, and which is correct. And it is, so basically I'll take a tuner, I'll put it on my guitar, and I'll tune that up to it so that I'll be in tune. Meanwhile, the bass player or another guitar player will be tuning to that. The pianos have already been tuned to that. So it's what's known as concert pitch. Now, why is this important? We've been listening to this for generations upon generations. It kind of goes back to, you could say it's kind of conspiracy or whatnot, that at a conference, it was deemed that it was of the utmost importance that we use this 440 concert pitch. And so now I'm going to fast forward a little bit and I'll revisit that. When I'd get off of the stage at night, it'd be like 1 o'clock, sometimes 12 o'clock, depending when we could leave the venue. And I could not sleep. And I had no idea what was going on with my body. I was just like charged and aggravated. And of course, you look at what musicians of the '80s were using to try to bring themselves down at that time. And it dawned on me that I was in just like dissonance. And I was studying technical engineering at the time and started looking at altering pitches. I think somewhere in my readings I had read like Haydn had used different pitches. There's the Well-Tempered Clavier by Bach. So they weren't using 440, which I was just explaining, that they said was utmost importance. And meaning it was like some of the greatest ears of the time, from Vienna, coming in from Italy, London, and all the greatest ears in music using this dissonant pitch. of 440 that they're doing it. And the rumor that Joseph Goebbels, who was the Third Reich minister of the German army in World War II, was the one that said we need to use this. Okay, so what does that all mean? Well, we've been listening to this dissonant frequency. So if I play 528 or 432, and we'll get into those in a little bit, I play that, a chord in that, which is a chord in that, and then I go to the 440 and I play a chord in that. It is, you hear that one is more tension than the other one. So in closing, our daily basis that we get up in the morning, some people get up to their alarm coming off of their clock radio, and that's going to be 440, especially if they got that tuned to their station or they got their favorite CD that's in there. They go downstairs and they make their breakfast, and they might have the news on the radio or on the television. There's commercials that are blaring at us at 440, creating this tension. And what are these commercials that are creating tension? They're like, buy this. You need to have this sleep therapeutic thing to rest at night while you're listening to my 440 voice. You've got to have these kind of drugs that are going to help make you feel better. If you don't have this insurance in place, your house is going to be dead. And so now all of a sudden I call it fight or flight. And now you're stuck in 440 where you either want to run like heck, or you're like, hey man, I don't like what I'm hearing with that. So that's what led me playing with some of these other frequencies. And I was like, holy moly, it was changing me drastically.
Well, you know what amazes me about like the way that it works with Wellpoint is that you're actually, as a practitioner, as you're listening to these frequencies, you're actually like attuning to that energy. You're going to this higher vibe place, and your voice becomes programmed to those frequencies, and it like comes out your voice. You've actually seen proof and evidence of this, haven't you? Scientific proof.
I have.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I got a call one day for one of the major studios that was here up in Boulder. And there was a Russian doctor who was pioneering with biophotonic imaging. So he was measuring the human energy field. And he'd heard a lot of what I was doing with music, and we wanted to get together. And he also knew I'm kind of like a techie, so I deal a lot with weird technologies and stuff, just as a hobby and playing with it. And so he wanted me to come up there and look at the device that he was playing with and developing. And we became good friends, and I started using it with my music. So now we're able to show what it was doing to the human energy field. So I'd have a client would come in, and I would test them as a baseline before they even heard my music. And then I would have them listen to a song or two. And there's a lot of these tests are on my website at tedwinslow.com. And you can see what I'm talking about because I wanted to show the public. Because I knew when I was playing this, and a lot of people that were hearing it were going, I could just feel it instantly change. How do I explain this to other people? And so through this this Russian doctor, Dr. Karakov, we were able to show how it changed the human energy field.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That is just so incredible.
It was kind of fun. I'm sorry. So I had a person come in with vocal toning, and they didn't like to sing. And I didn't know that they didn't like to sing. They thought they were just going to be listening to one of my songs. And I'm testing beforehand, and then I get her into some headphones and get her with the microphone to start singing. And she's like, I'm not singing. And I'm like, oh, I've blown this test because how am I going to, I want to see how this works with vocal toning. And so I start playing a track, and she, instead of singing, she's just like, I hate my boss. I hate my job. I don't like going to work in the morning. She just starts going along with it. And as she finished, we ran a test, and her energy level was just so much more elevated.
What?
Yeah, it was like she was calm. She wasn't as agitated. It was quite amazing. So.
Wow. So can you tell us about like some of the different frequencies there are out there?
There's a
and
lot
what they
of,
do.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh, tell us about the new where we're at right now on Earth as the Earth,
With
about
the
how that just raised
with the Schumann
the
resonance.
Schumann resonance.
And I don't have the statistics here in front of me. You can see that they're all over Google. But the Schumann resonance, we basically have been having, we've been at the Earth's frequency, which has started to gradually, slowly start to raise up. And as we're going through it, we start speeding up. So we would start out with like theta. The Earth's resonancy is what, hold on here, let me I think it is about 8.7 hertz. About 8.7 hertz, 7.8 hertz. It was basically like theta. And no, I can't, I'm having a brain that's sticking in here. Anyway, we, like you and I are talking right now, we're in beta as we're talking. So vibrating with it, it spiked up at one point at Easter, and then another time it kind of came back down and started getting back into the Schumann resonance. Then it spiked back up again, and then it just started going crazy where it started bringing up into gamma. So gamma is basically 40 hertz and higher. And this is the highest mental activity, such as problem solving and our perception. So,
Learning.
yeah, it started spiking into that. My latest album, before we started seeing these spikes, I started feeling, because all my albums have been done in theta and alpha. Theta is basically 4 to 7 hertz in frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And what this is the border between conscious and the subconscious world. And it's in this state of consciousness where we're able to access and influence the powerful subconscious parts of ourselves that is normally inaccessible to our waking minds. Okay, and then we have alpha, which goes up above that. That's 8 to 13 hertz. Excuse me. And it's the normal activity of the brain. Where we're conscious and we're relaxed. And it's associated with a relaxed alertness, enhanced learning, creative peak, performance, imagination, and visualization. So the earlier question you asked is like all these different frequencies that I do my music into. And so you'll see 432 hertz, which is the universal frequency, so to speak. And again, all this is, you can look this up on Google. 528 is another one that a lot of people hear me talk about, and that's love. And you think of, okay, well, what does that do? Well, Dr. Emoto has shown us what he's done with water, with crystallography, where if you start saying words of hate and stuff towards the water, it kind of turns to mud. Well, you start praising it and saying love, and it changes the crystallized patterns. So that's kind of the concept with changing these frequencies out of the 440 and going into other ones. I think Haydn used 444. I've done angelic frequencies. We all know about those angelic frequencies, 111, 222, and what they can do. Okay, back to the theta, the gamma, and the alpha. So Wellpoint, which is what you were talking about, is delta, and that's 4 hertz or less. And it's a deep, dreamless sleep where the body can heal and restore itself. It releases anti-aging hormones, including melatonin, HGH, DHE. It's the place of the deepest relaxation and the deepest healing, the deepest spiritual connection, and the deepest connections with our subconscious mind. So wow. That's the music that I've been doing, that I do, that you said that you're doing your self-hypnosis. That those frequencies are putting you into that, then as you go through and start to talk to your higher self. That's what led to us doing with Wellpoint, is that through the testing with the biophotonic human imaging, and if I'm all scattered, please stop me and go, wait, Ted, I don't understand this part or this part. But as I was doing these testings, we found out that it had an immediate impact pretty much on our human energy field. It was changing us. It was changing us for the better. It was making us feel better. It was curing things that people didn't think could be cured before. I was supposed to go in for surgery, and I talked to my doctor that give me 6 weeks to see what I can do, and he thought I was crazy. And a couple months later, I was climbing Grace Peak in waist deep of snow, summiting to it. And so, you know, it's a place that with these frequencies, we can heal ourselves and our intuition. Okay, the delta, we realize that with the hypnosis. A lot of my albums that I've been writing, I've been going into my higher self that we've been using with what my wife and created with the Wellpoint method, hypnosis method. And through those, I was able to access other parts of my spiritual higher self through these frequencies to be able to come in and start creating more. Okay, what does that mean? I just finished up with my 18th album. I'm got 3 more that I'm starting to write. It is constantly coming, working at Mach speed. The last album that I did was the gamma. That was a frequency that the earth started raising up. Our awareness started coming into it, right? Ethereal is the latest, we just released about 2 weeks ago.
It's awesome.
And now it's like, wow, now it's like coming out and we're just seeing changes right and left. I hope that, I know I was long-winded on that. I hope I answered a lot of that.
Well, okay, so he's got albums, like he's got an angel album and fairy album. And then the celestial kind of galactic album. And I'm going to put samples in the before this and then after, so these guys can hear whatever samples you'll approve of. And there's also like a free angel album on tedwinslow.com if you guys do want to check that out. But basically, how did you come up with, you just like went into hypnosis and then you're like, I'll tune into the fairies, I'll tap into the fairies, and then they just like told you the frequencies to use, or they told you the notes or tones, or
they'd start coming in, they'd start giving me the frequencies to use. Now,
did you hum them out loud, or did you have a guitar waiting there, or like
all of the above? I mean,
wow, that's incredible.
Crazy. So
under hypnosis.
And actually, what I want to do, you'd mentioned, I want to give your listeners the full free digital download of, it's actually an Amazon best-selling album of angelic sound healing.
Yeah.
You know, the angels, when I wrote with those frequencies, had some profound things that were happening, and it was like, give this out so that people can understand what these frequencies are, because it's one thing to sit here in front of a camera and go, you ought to listen to this. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard. People are like, yeah, right. You know, now you can go listen to it. If you go on to my website on tedwinslow.com, you're going to click onto the store, go into the store, and you're going to select Angelic Sound Healing, and then you're going to click it to download it. There's going to be a coupon code, and type in radio, RADIO. It will zero out your balance. Now, this is important. Yeah. If it's telling you to pay the $12.99, you did it incorrectly, go back a step or two until it zeroes out the balance. It is a digital download. I will get people who will say, I didn't get the CD. No, it's a digital download. I can't send the CDs. That's through a whole nother distribution network that I have through my publishing company.
Okay. No, thank you so much for doing that. The delta waves are exclusive to Wellpoint Hypnosis Method, are they not? So you only get the delta waves if you do a hypnosis regression through this program.
We have that for our practitioners, such as yourself, so that when they're out there and working with their client base, that they're able to use that onto them, because it's the fastest way that we're starting to get them into connection with their higher self, to release it with the hypnosis.
Yeah, and so any of you, sorry, I'm recovering from a cold, but any of you who want to download this sample, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're planning on getting a regression from me, or any of the Wellpoint hypnosis practitioners. But basically, you want to kind of like tune yourself or attune yourself to this, retrain your brain. Like I'm not using the right term, but basically entrain your brain with these frequencies before your session. It'll help you go down faster. And it's like astonishing to me that like when I'm under, when I've done this for myself and with other people, like the practitioners obviously practice with one another as well. But it's so crazy because I can hear myself like in a deep state of sleep, and I know I'm completely passed out, but yet I'm also totally aware. And it's like such a trip
Oh
because
yeah.
it just like, it knocks you out, but you're still totally aware of everything going on.
That's and that's what Chrissy was doing with. We didn't know where it was going to go, and here I am as an artist, and we started working with authors who were writing books, going, I got writer's block, and I'm like, here, and like Frequency of the Fairies, kind of a funny story about that. I'm kind of an avid motorcyclist enthusiast. I've ridden my motorcycle from here in Denver, Colorado, on a solo journey up to Alaska and around through there and back. And so you wouldn't think fairies and me would be like meshing together, so to speak. And here I am writing this album, Frequency of the Fairies. It's just going to come to me after a session. I'm like, no one's going to believe me on this. And here I am kind of like, hey, what's up, Mad Dog? Frequency of the Fairies. You know, like, hey, you lost it. You know what? They all listened to it.
I'm sure they did. They were like dying to make fun of it or something at first, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, geez, this is good stuff.
Yeah, Ted, Frequency of the Fairies. And then you putting it in their car.
What feedback did you get from them?
Got a lot of good feedback. Well, you know, they kind of whisper because they want to say it out loud because it's a macho type of thing, right? But I've got a lot of good feedback with it, and they're telling me that it's changing with them. I mean, they'll
Wow.
probably say that they're listening more to planetary, so to speak, than the fairies. But you put that on and go out on a nice, wonderful spring day, and it's just the magic's going to happen. So
Yeah, that is so incredible. Yay. Okay, so I was going to ask something about like the frequencies that we typically listen to. Let's talk about like you know how you were saying even if you like download your music and you put it through a certain venue, it's still not going to have the same effect. Can you talk about some of the technicalities of making sure that you keep the integrity of the correct hertz in your speakers, the best way to listen to your music to have the biggest impact? Okay.
So basically the music, we know, I'm going to kind of explain this in a couple different ways that I think is going to help answer the question and kind of give a little more information with it. So each frequency is like 432 is going to be the key of A. And I know that when I'm working with 432, that composition is going to be based on that note. And then there's
Isn't that ohm? Isn't A ohm?
Ohm is just a way of a vocal toning that we use with it.
Okay.
That's
it's not.
Yeah, it's one of the things that for clearing out negative energies is one of the highest of, like they call it, Christ-like consciousness. And so I used Ohm with 432, and what she's talking about is that we were doing I had a harmonium, and that harmonium had two sets of reeds that were all actually tuned to 432. And so we had a whole class at Wellpoint, and we were doing to see what, so people understand with clearing their own energy with singing, because that's first, when we talk about sound healing, so to speak, we may not have a crystal bowl I'm looking to see if I've got a crystal bowl here. I got a Tibetan bowl over there.
He has such an awesome studio, you guys. I just went and saw that. And
sorry to step off camera. So we know that
cool.
we know that there's a frequency right there. This is new, so I haven't yet figured out what type of frequency that is, so I apologize. People use tuning forks, right? So that's kind of great. We'll never hear this, but but they use tuning
fire thingy.
Yeah. So I should just grab a guitar and
do it.
And anyway, I don't have them tuned up, and the weather changed, so they kind of get a little bit out of tune. So if I'm doing something in the key of A or the tune that you have, you can have that little device and do an Ohm along with that. My compositions are going to have a lot more put into them because we're dealing with a whole spread of notes that are going to be in that same type of register. We're going to have a whole different set of overtones and musical overtones that are going to go along with it. That's what makes it so unique. Coupled with the fact that if I'm doing a theta and an alpha or a delta, now I have to match that A pitch to what that delta, gamma, theta, or alpha frequency is going to be. So there's a whole process that goes to it so that we keep that vibration in tune. Now, the beauty of that is we talked earlier about 440. We know that we have that going along with us all day long. Most people we see are listening to my albums either when they're in creative stages or when they're at home getting ready to go to sleep. Some people have used it when they're cooking or when they're at rest to be able to get themselves back down to replenish themselves with getting to their natural energy field without it being shocked by the shock and awe that we get of the fight or flight that we might have had through the day. We know that if you go to the office and someone is like, I can't believe you did that wrong, that kind of like shoots a dart into us. It affects us. It's a negative energy that we have going through us. And I think I ran off a little bit on the question there. I apologize, but I hope that kind of ties it.
Yeah. How do you keep the integrity of the music you're listening to? What kind of degrades the energy? Like you were saying something about if you listen to it on your phone, it's not the same as if you listen to it on speakers, for example.
Correct. Okay. And that's the part that I forgot. Thank you. So a lot of my music, I do have it. So, which is, you can listen to it on your computer because I know a lot of people are going to be listening to it on their laptop computer, the majority of them. It's not the best way to do it, however. The best way to do it is if you have a pair of headphones. You can put the headphones on it. Not all of us are going to have a huge surround sound system that's going to be able to be hooked up that we can listen to it through. The reason why I say doing that is because you have your phone, this is an iPhone, and I've got this little tiny speaker that's in there. And when we're talking about frequencies that are coming through, you're talking, our human ear can hear anywhere from about 30 hertz to about 30,000 hertz, depending on the individual. And this little speaker is probably not going to get some of those bigger bass sounds that are going to be pertinent to helping change some of that, or it's just, you're going to get a lot of high end out of it. It's not the most optimal listening condition. So
even if you're listening with like headphones to your phone,
that's going to be fine, because what it does is it's not sending it through your little speaker. If I didn't have headphones on, you're now plugging it in and it's converting the signal to come in to go through both headphones. Does that make sense? And
it's okay that they're Bluetooth headphones, that they're not like directly plugged in or whatever. Okay.
You know, outside of it, you can always get into the debate of what the Wi-Fi signal and all that might be doing to our body. I don't think that that's a battle that I can really take on to debate, because everything that we're doing in the digital age is moving forward with technology, with the ease and the hands-free and using Wi-Fi with everything. I mean, I've got a Wi-Fi headset that I use in a lot of it. I just can't get away from it. But I do my music to the best of its ability under these circumstances to be able to have it come through those mediums. So we listen to it through small laptops, bigger laptops, through studio speakers. The lights are off over there. Studio speakers, to surround sound speakers, to even just little. I've even destroyed a pair of little itty bitty speakers that are like from the 80s, because if it can sound good through those, I know it's going to be able to get through, keeping the integrity with the whole thing. So now, to finish up, is because when we're listening to it, I'm able to play spatial areas with it so that we're working both sides of the hemisphere. We know that we've got stereo, but when I'm doing the music, there's offset things that are going with binaural beats that's kicking in both the right and the left side of the hemisphere, which is allowing us to tap into those areas of us that are really not really tapped into. I can say, so anyway.
Well, I was just going to ask you the same question that I asked you like a few days ago, which is, what's the best possible frequency you could be listening to heal or be happy or whatever it is? Is there a best?
You know, I started out with what I thought was the best, with with 528. And then I went through all sorts of them, 432. And I'm just using those because those are the most prevalent ones. And then I might like 741. I might want to go listen to 888. Well, and what I came to the conclusion is that our body thirsts for these frequencies. It's going to let you be able to pick and choose. And so I was constantly having a download of information coming to me of all these different frequencies to write in and see what it would do. You know, I've got the greatest job in the world. I'm around it all day long. My people in the household would be having a bad day, and I'm walking in like, hey! And they're like, just shut up. I'll put in frequency of the fairies.
Everybody just chill out.
They're just like, cool, food tastes better. So it's like our body thirsts for that, for what we want. And it's kind of like saying, well, like looking at colors, right? So it's like color therapy. You think that we see a spectrum of colors, which is going to be red, yellow, blue, violet, orange, green, and indigo, which are all measured by a nanometer. All the music I've been talking about has been measured in a hertz. So it's like somebody might like green, which is 515 to 550 nanometers, and somebody else is going to like blue. That's their favorite color. So it's going to be what you feel like at that point in time, which, interesting enough, thinking about that our eyes are seeing just those 7 colors that are combined of it. There's really 7 notes in a scale if you think about it, and we're not including accidentals. I thought that was an interesting fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share with everybody a cool recent experience too, that I do email readings sometimes. I do a number of different types of readings, but I do email readings, this one was a video reading, but it was like one of my quick relationship spreads, I think. And I always put in your frequencies when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, if I can. If I'm not having to like interact with the person directly, then I put on the frequencies. And I started to do this spread, and I just was overwhelmed with the feelings that this person had for this other person. And I just started crying, just totally sobbing, but with just full of love. Like my heart chakra was like cracked wide open. It was really such a beautiful experience. So, but I really felt it was directly contributed to your frequencies. So thank you for it.
Thank you, because knowing what you do and being in tune with that and feeling all of that, because I mean, you are a huge spiritual individual that has so many gifts that you're helping all of us out with, that it's like, when I hear that coming from you, I'm like, that is great, because you are so intuitive. It's like awesome. It's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't be paid a bigger compliment. So thank you.
Thank you. So talk about like adding frequencies. Can you imagine light language with this? It's like, that'd be like off the charts. And I look forward to doing that. I don't think I've done that combination of like speaking to somebody on the phone while I've got the frequencies going into my ear doing a light language blessing. I gotta give that a go.
I can't wait to hear about how that goes.
I know. Anyway, thank you so much. And is there anything else that anybody needs to know? They can get a hold of you at tedwinslow.com.
Yep, they can get a hold of me at tedwinslow.com. My Twitter handle is at tedwinslow. I kind of started up Instagram. I'm not huge on social media because I'm always in the studio. And by the time I do that and start just getting into reading with everything, it's like, hey, we got to start again. It's like, okay. But I guess kind of imparting, one of the greatest quotes that I've heard is from Einstein. And he says that discovering the law of vibration, that a law of nature that states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates, and that the difference between the manifestation of the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual results simply from different levels of vibrating energy or frequencies. And that's what this whole journey has been all about.
Yes, that's so awesome. Yay. And I'm going to put all of your information in the description of this video as well. And again, you guys are going to get a couple of samples today included in this video to be able to hear what we're talking about. So thank you guys so much for watching this, and have a beautiful day, Ted. And thank Christina for all of us practitioners as well. We love using your music.
Amy, thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show. I really appreciate it. You're such a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Bye.